Blog Talk Radio.
Your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you so much for joining in at spacedoutradio.com as we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at SOR, we do this thing 7 days a week. We are your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, paranormal, spiritual, extraterrestrial, and so much more. And Space Out Radio's theme music is from guitar god Ron Bumblefoot Thal. You can find his new album, Little Brother is Watching, by going to spacedoutradio.com. Hey, if you're a social media junkie like I am, give us a follow on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Tell your friends as well. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can ask to join our private Spaced Out Radio group and our other group, Podcast Central. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and of course our website, which has a new look, is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we love sending a shout-out to our fans taking part in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, along with our fans at Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. If you head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, you can check out Cat's Corner. Psychic Catherine Fallman will answer one lucky listener submitted question per week. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. Spaced Out Radio listeners receive a 10% discount on pricing. PurplePlates.com. Help heal your body, mind, and soul. Drop into their site and heal yourself today. 80,000 people a month read the new Agora newspaper. Find out what's happening around the world on the other side of politics, health, supernatural, paranormal, and so much more. And if you have $1 and you have an iPhone, you can download the Spirit Storybox. Spirit Storybox, the official ghost hunting app of Spaced Out Radio. Sorry about that. My throat was feeling a little itchy, so I just wanted to grab a quick drink of water, as we all should have water in our system. Makes us feel a little bit better. Before I get to tonight's show, I want to make an update to you on what we are doing with our progress with Spreaker, because I know a lot of you are asking. I'm going to tell you right now, get your friends and people who you know who like this show to follow us on Spreaker, Spaced Out Radio. We have all the technical glitches taken care of. After this show tonight, I'm going into the editing booth. I'm going to be doing a ton of editing on this show, or on the audio for the show. James Tyson, we got him figured out tonight. At the earliest, and this is no guarantee just yet because it all comes down to the audio because we got to be able to sound right. But at the earliest, we may be launching on Monday the 21st on Spaced Out Radio. Moving over to Spreaker, we are almost done with Blog Talk Radio. I know that's going to get a lot of you excited out there, but I just wanted to update you on that. And if it's not this coming Monday, the 21st, it will be Monday, March 28th, that we will move to Spreaker. That is a final deadline, March 28th. So we are right around the corner. The last time we had Anthony Quinata on Spaced Out Radio, we were talking about his haunted doll named Harold, who is basically the bastion of evil. Anthony had told me before the show, be prepared for Harold to do something during the episode. Well, he showed up, and it sure as hell happened. No pun intended. We'll get to that story in a moment. Tonight, we will talk a little bit about Harold, since, well, dolls, especially the haunted ones, scare the living daylights out of me. But we are also going to talk about communication with those who've passed on the other side. Anthony is also a very gifted psychic medium. And his book, We Are Never Alone, Reassuring Insights from the Other Side, will get heavily into the communication with those who've moved on from this life to the eternal one. Can we all communicate? Should we all look for signs from our loved ones on the other side so we know that they're around? Is there truly life after death? I mean, eventually we're all going to find out, right? There's no choice in that. But wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit of confirmation and affirmation on that one? We bring in Anthony Quinata into Spaced Out Radio. Anthony, welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm up to my ass in alligators trying to remember I'm here to drain the swamp. But other than that, I'm doing good. It's good to be back, by the way. Congratulations on Spreaker.
Yeah, you know what? We're pretty excited about it. And what happened was, just to fill you in, a couple of months ago, we got hit in a good way with a bunch of listeners who were fed up with other shows and fed up with changing hosts. And somehow they found us. And, you know, I'm a firm believer, Anthony, and you and I have talked privately many a time. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in putting it out to the universe, this is what we need. And,
right.
Well, it responded a little bit faster than what I was prepared for. But you know what? Sometimes you have to adjust on this side, so that's what we've done. So we've been racing to get everything set up with Spreaker, and we are making our move over there and hopefully getting ready to take the next step, which will be iHeartRadio.
Oh, awesome. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were talking, and I told you, be ready, because big things are going to be happening soon. But
you did. In fact, you said, just to quote you, you said February. And we talked in November. And you said by February, something is going to happen. And sure enough, end of January, early February, a gentleman named Dino and a lady named Kathy found our show. They're from a Facebook group called Paranormal Into the Night. And ever since then, they have followed us every night, along with another chat room, which is called Paranormal Forum. And they're all waiting for us to get better sound, better quality on Spreaker. So that's what we're waiting for right now. And I couldn't be more excited.
Very nice. I'm so happy for you. I really am, because you deserve it. You really do. You absolutely deserve it. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much. Now, the last time you were on, we were talking about your haunted doll named Harold, which we kind of believe is the spawn of Satan. And how is Harold doing these days?
Well, I literally just before coming on to talk to you tonight, I received a message from somebody, I won't say his name, but he apparently challenged the doll and is now at his wit's end and is literally begging me for help. And he ended the message by saying, "Damn you, Anthony, damn you." So he's still up to his old tricks. I was actually going to make appearances at a couple of paranormal conventions, but I canceled them. I'm not sure if I'll ever make any public appearances with the doll because I literally am afraid of somebody getting hurt because of challenging the doll face to face. But other than that, he and I have almost come to we're in our separate corners, so to speak. So, I mean, right now as we speak, the doll is approximately 4 or 5 feet away from me. And I will say this, I call it Harold the Haunted Doll because that's the way it was originally listed on eBay in 2003. That's how everybody's known him until Zach Bagan started referring to him as Harold the Doll, which I wish I would have continued. But the doll isn't haunted. The doll is actually owned by a demon, which is named in the Bible. And I will name it on air on your show for the very first time. Publicly, in the book of Revelations in chapter 9, it talks about a prince of hell named Abaddon and coming out of the abyss. And it's my firm belief that Abaddon owns the doll and has at least 4 souls in prison within it, perhaps even more. I'm aware of 4 souls. But in my book, Harold the Haunted Doll, why do I feel that? Well, there was a young boy. There's a young boy in Australia who is autistic. Saw a picture of the doll shortly after it came out on Ghost Adventures, the Island of the Dolls episode. But neither the little boy, whom I call Vincent in my book, nor his mother have ever seen that episode. She was looking for instructions on how to make stuffed dolls for a fundraiser for her son. And she ran across Annabelle, and on that little sidebar, she saw a picture of Harold, and she clicked on that, was interrupted while she was watching the video on her iPad. And so she paused it and didn't think about it. Well, Vincent asked if he could play a game on her iPad, and she said sure. So she opened it up, and there was a picture of the doll. And he immediately freaked out, telling her that the baby was sad, the baby's scared. And she said it's just an old doll, and he kept insisting that there were children in the doll who were in the dark, wanted to come into the light. There was a woman in the doll with them who wanted Vincent to help them come into the light. And so anyway, she contacted me and let me know this. And at the same time that was going on, 2 other people were getting their own visions where they saw, again, a woman, 2 children, and then a man who I later found out is the one who calls himself Harold. And then at one point, as I talk about in my book, the attacks on him became worse and worse and worse. We had a Catholic priest come out to bless the house. And again, they're in Australia. At the time, I was in Denver with the doll. But he came out, blessed the house, and everything calmed down for 2 weeks. And then it just started up again and became even worse. And at one point, he was in the bath, and she asked me, "Who's Abaddon?" And I said, "I have no clue. Ask Vincent to draw and write out what he's seeing." And so she sent me a picture. of the drawing he made, and it said Abaddon, which I literally thought was abandoned. I thought he misspelled abandoned. And then there was a second word, a second name, Apollyon. I had no clue as to what either of them were. I Googled it, and Abaddon is the Hebrew name for this demon in the Bible, in the book of Revelation. It's actually mentioned throughout Jewish and Christian scriptures. And Apollyon is the Greek name for the same demon. Now, I have said this to her, so I said this to a lot of other people, and I'm going to say this on air with you. I think I said this last time. They're not religious people. They have a couple of Bibles, a children's Bible and an adult Bible, but I honestly believe that if I put $100 Australian $100 in Australian money in the Bible, the only place it'd be safer is in a bank. And the only difference is that the bank would gain interest. And I mean that as no disrespect to them. They just don't read the Bible. They're not religious at all. So, done a lot of research on Abaddon since then, and like I said, I'm convinced because at one point Vincent drew Abaddon, and then in his room, and drew a little, what looked like a little girl on the floor, and I asked Jane, his mother, to ask him if that was one of the girls, or if that was the girl in the doll he saw, and he said, no, that's the doll. They always come together. In other words, the doll always shows up with the demon, but they come separate. They're separate. So I've come to the conclusion, and Vincent's confirmed this, that Abaddon owns the doll. So the figure you saw,
right?
I'm sorry, I was going to say the figure you saw that night, the cloaked figure, that's the one who calls himself Harold. And I know his real name as well as circumstances of his death. I have pictures of his home where he died, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm. We are talking with Anthony Quinata tonight on Spaced Out Radio. His website, anthonyquinata.com. You can find all his books, find out more information about Harold the Haunted Doll as well. Now, I want to explain, because we have so many different listeners here following us now. When we had you on, you had said to me before we had the show in November, you said, Dave, be careful because Harold has I don't even know the word to say it. He has the ability to show up and either wreck the phone lines or something. Be prepared for something to happen. And I said, okay, I'm prepared. I will be prepared for that. Not a problem. Little did I know, 45 minutes into the show approximately, that Harold would all of a sudden be standing beside me. And you got to realize, for you who are listening, Anthony is on the East Coast of the United States. I'm on the West Coast in British Columbia. There's roughly 3,700 miles between us. And Harold appeared in my studio on my left, standing as a cloaked figure, a black cloak, at about 5 feet tall. And Anthony said exactly that. Anthony said, is it a black cloak about 5 feet tall? And I said, yes. He goes, there's Harold for you. And that scared me, man. Like, that made me jump. And I can laugh about it now, Anthony, but back then when it happened, I was not prepared for a sighting. I was prepared for the phone lines. I was not prepared for the sighting.
To be honest with you, it surprised me too, but I guess he wanted to do something that I hadn't mentioned. So, yeah, I mean, I was talking to a demonologist after we talked on your show. I was talking to a demonologist privately, and he explained something to me I didn't even know, that technically with the haunting, if an object's haunted, the activity will take place within a 15 to 20-foot area, radius, around the object. This doll has attacked people, has appeared to people such as yourself, literally around the world. Literally around the world. And that freaked this man out. So
I don't blame it. It scared me, and it was only there for about 10 seconds.
Well, I guess he wanted you to know that this is the real deal.
Oh, for sure. I am a firm believer in Harold the Doll now. And you know what? Since you and I have talked last, I have actually had another run-in with another haunted doll here in British Columbia.
Huh.
And it's funny because I went with there's a crew up here who's starting a television show called Chronicles of the Unknown. They're good friends of ours and good friends of this show. And they were filming just north of where I live. So I went out there the first night for them to set up cameras and get around the doll, and the doll's name is escaping me right now. I will pull it up here. But what had happened was, when I got there and we were doing the tour of the museum, the doll was silent. Like there was no action in the museum whatsoever. And we were going to broadcast live from there, but I didn't want to disrupt their filming and taint their evidence. So I ended up staying home the second night, and that's when the doll struck. And one of the leaders of the group, his name is Glenn, who can't bend down on his knees because he's done too many paratroop jumpings when he was in the British Army. He literally was found in a comatose state, or in a trance, I should say, on his knees, kneeling right in front of this doll, not blinking, not moving, nothing. And when they pulled him out of the trance, he was actually having to run outside to clean out his innards because he started vomiting all over the place and sneezing, and he felt absolutely sick to his stomach.
The museum that the doll's in, does it start with a Q? Is it like Quesno, something like that?
Quinel. And the doll's name is Mandy.
Right. I'm familiar with the doll. I did not realize that she was doing things like that, though.
Oh, it was very interesting. Very interesting. And I'll just finish up my story because I know tonight is all about you. When I was there the previous night, I was looking by this old military, World War I, World War II military memorabilia, and I got startled by this mannequin that was dressed in clothing. And I kept getting drawn to it. I must have walked up to it about 9 or 10 times. And right before I left, I actually whispered in its ear. I said, I know you're in there. I know you're alive. Mm-hmm. And the next night, Glenn, who was in the military, he retired as a captain, actually outranked the soldier who was in there, and the soldier got so upset, he actually ran out an exit door, and the door opened and closed on a locked, secured door with an alarm.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, I missed that. I totally missed that.
That is incredible. I have my hands full with just Harold, so I generally try to stay away from all those other things anymore. But that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Let's make this show about you. I have a question from Marlena in the Space Out Radio chat room for you in regards to Harold. Why have you never had Harold exorcised?
Well, I mean, I get offers all the time from people who claim to be exorcists. And usually what they're dealing with, or they think that they're dealing with, is some spirit that's trapped, quote unquote. Normally, I mean, just recently somebody said he had done 90 exorcisms in the past 10 years, and he was talking about no spirit strong enough to imprison other spirits, within the doll, yada, yada, yada. And I was going to make an appearance at Salem Con in just a few weeks here in Salem, Mass. And he said, I'll see you at Salem Con. And I started to write back to him, that the last time somebody offered to help, I ended up with 3 cracked ribs. And I don't remember if this was before or after I did your show, but I was literally injured. It was actually after I did your show, now that I think about it. I was injured and ended up with 3 cracked ribs when another quote-unquote exorcist wanted to butt heads with what was going on with the doll. Anyway, as I started to write that to him, I heard laughter. And I was on the phone with a friend of mine, and I said, "Was that you just now?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Was that you who was laughing?" She said, "No, I switched the phone from ear to ear." And I said, "No, I heard laughter. But I had to make sure it was you, even though it sounded male, that it sounded sarcastic." And she said, "Where did it come from?" And I said, "Well, it came from right over here by my television." And I said, "Oh, my God." She said, "What?" I said, that's where the doll is. I heard the laughter coming from the doll. So my point is, eventually, it's not like the doll is infested. It's not like the demon is trapped within the doll or possesses the doll or infests the doll. The demon is separate from the doll, so you can't exorcise the demon from the doll, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Secondly, if anybody is going to deal with it, I would prefer, being brought up Roman Catholic, that somebody within the Roman Catholic Church who knows what the heck they're doing can deal with this. But I have to prove to them that I'm not a nutcase as well, even though I was able to get the Roman Catholic Church involved in Australia. I was able to prove to them, because of Vincent, that there was an issue. But the Roman Catholic Church has an interesting agenda, which I just love. Before they do an exorcism, it has to be disproved once. In other words, you have to rule out any possible mental illness, desire for publicity or desire for attention, stuff like that. If you disprove it once, then whoever is investigating the case must disprove it yet a second time before a bishop will even consider an exorcism. So at this point, I'm trying to gather evidence which will be credible. I do have a bishop who is considering doing whatever needs to be done. People ask me all the time, why don't I put it in a museum? You know, it's like, what good is that going to do? If there are 3 souls that are imprisoned within the doll that need to be released, according to Vincent, as well as Harold, who was imprisoned in the doll, will never be released, and it's literally owned by a demon, what good's putting it in a museum going to do? My goal is, and again, I'm revealing this for the first time on the air, publicly, on your show, if I had my druthers, I would give it to the Vatican, have them lock it up in the basement, and never to be seen again.
Anthony, I'm going to get you to hold on here. We're going to go out for our first break of the night. We're talking with author Anthony Quinata. His website, anthonyquinata.com. He is the owner of Harold the Doll, and we're going to talk more about Harold as well as communication with the other side, and we are never alone. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm going to bring you the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio, Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Every week, I'm going to bring you the freshest information on the globe. I'm bringing you guys the truth, extraterrestrials in the sky, prophecy, chemtrails, rainbow spot, the seventh angel, biblical skies, ancient gods, ghosts, spirits, see it, hear it. So let's do this every Monday night. I'll see you back here at 8 p.m. Pacific Time.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com. for mind, body, and spirit. And expect a miracle.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio is live 7 days a week? This is Jim Tyson, host of Spaced Out Weekend. You can listen to my show, Spaced Out Weekend, every Saturday and Sunday night starting at 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific. On Spaced Out Weekend, we like to delve into the paranormal, even the newest technologies that have enhanced modern-day ghost hunting. And sometimes, we'll get a little creative and dabble into the crypto world, UFOs, and much, much more. So tune in at www.spacedoutradio.com on the weekends and listen to me, Jim Tyson, on Spaced Out Weekend.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. Spaced Out Radio listeners will also receive 10% off their first visit. It's time for you to make time for you.
The Spaced Out Radio Network can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Here you can join the latest on our weekly shows and news from around the world involving UFOs, cover-ups, cryptids, ghosts, and more. Read articles from our very talented staff and check out our weekly tarot card reading from psychic Catherine. You can also sign up for free on our forum and tell us about your experiences. SpacedOutRadio.com. Always live, always interactive.
Ready to find out what's flying up in the sky? Me too. Hi there, this is Rich Giordano. Please join me every Sunday night at 7 for the AZ UFO Show. It's a fast and compelling 2-hour show on UFOs, extraterrestrials, conspiracy theories, and much more. Every week we will have great guests and great topics to try and answer the ultimate question, are we alone in this universe or not? So tune in to the AZ UFO Show with me, Rich Giordano, right here on the Spaced Out Radio Network at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with Dave and his guests? Learn more at spacedoutradio.com for the latest news, features, photos, and articles. spacedoutradio.com is where you can stay up to date on what's happening around the world and up in the stars. And now, back to Dave Scott.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Spreaker update, either Monday the 21st or Monday the 28th. We will be leaving Blog Talk Radio and moving full-time over to Spreaker. Get your membership in and follow Spaced Out Radio. If you're a fan of this show, that is the one thing I can ask of you as I do this every night. If I could ask you a favor, you the listener, go to Spreaker.com, log in with your Facebook or Twitter account, or create your own account and follow Spaced Out Radio. We would really appreciate that. We want 1,000 followers, because once we hit 1,000, we're going to apply for iHeartRadio. And it's all going to be because of you, the listener. So thank you for your support, and please give us a follow on Spreaker. Tomorrow night on the show, the lovely Corrine DeWinter will join us. We're going to talk about soul awakening. She is a talented poet. She is a talented writer and award winner. It's going to be a great show tomorrow night with Corrine DeWinter. Hey, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also ask to join our private Spaced Out Radio group as well as Podcast Central. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, where our archives are going to be downloaded. There's a few on there now. And our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with author Anthony Quinata. He is the owner of Harold the Haunted Doll. He's also a psychic medium and a very talented writer in his own. We're going to be talking about his book, We Are Never Alone, Reassuring Insights from the Other Side. Anthony, always a pleasure to be with you on the air and to have any opportunity to chat with you.
Well, thank you, Dave. It's an honor for me. And I'm going to be signing up, by the way. I'm going to be one of those 1,000 listeners.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
I really do. And you know why we want 1,000? I will fill you in here because this is the first time you're hearing it. You can apply as a radio show to Spreaker with 100-plus listeners. Anybody who has a decent show can get 100-plus listeners. But in my thoughts and in my imagination, I thought, what if we hit 1,000? Wouldn't iHeartRadio take a more serious look at us if we all of a sudden come in full storm with 1,000 followers already on Spreaker? And that's the way I'm taking this. And that's why I'm pushing for 1,000. We're already over 600.
Wow. Nice.
And we haven't even broadcasted a live show on Spreaker yet. And we're already over 600.
Very nice. Well, you'll get there very quickly, I'm sure.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Right before the break, we were talking about you wanting to send the Harold doll to the Vatican so they could put them underneath their underground and never be seen from again. Do you think that would be healthy for the spirits that are locked inside this doll?
Honestly, before that happens, my goal is to find a way to release them. So that's why I still have the doll. People are constantly asking me, people are constantly offering to buy the doll, including Zach Bagans, by the way, after he had the doll on the show. Yeah, he made a couple of offers to buy the doll, and I turned him down both times because there are at least 3 souls imprisoned within the doll. And I don't know that the person who has the doll after me will do the right thing and release them. So, I put up with a lot. I mean, my life, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But, and a very good friend of mine is constantly saying, why? Who are these souls to you? And it's just who I am. I just cannot fathom the idea of these souls being in prison within this doll for however long and knowing that I had a chance to do something about it and didn't. Now, I was telling her just a few days ago, her name is Donna, she's a very good friend of mine. I said, if I find out that they're there willingly, then, game's over. I'm not releasing them. So I'm still doing a lot of research, talking to demonologists, trying to piece this whole thing together. And once I release the 3 souls, then I'm going to, like I said, make a pitch to the Vatican and say, this is what's going on. This is my proof. This is my evidence. And hopefully they'll take it and do what needs to be done.
What about destroying the doll or throwing it in the depths of the ocean?
Yeah, I thought about that as well. I really have. As far as destroying it goes, what I've been commonly told is that's the worst thing you can do because then it would release Harold, which I'm not sure what difference that would make because he apparently is free to travel wherever Abaddon wants him to go and terrorize whoever Abaddon wants him to terrorize. But, it's like, again, I'm Roman Catholic, and I'm trusting that the church would know how to deal with it, how to contain it. I don't know that they could ever contain Abaddon as such. But, I entertain that thought because I'm originally from Guam, and Guam's part of the Marianas Trench, which is the deepest trench in the entire world. Thought about weighing it down and tossing it in there. I don't know. I really don't. I just settled on the idea of offering it to the Vatican. If they don't take it, then that's probably what I will do. So,
does Harold take offense to when you talk like that to or around him? Because you say he is within arm's distance of you right now. Do you have to worry about any supplemental reaction from him for making comments like that?
Absolutely. I'm always on guard. I have a St. Benedict's crucifix. I have holy water handy. One time I had my own radio show, blog talk radio show, and a friend of mine called and asked about Harold. And we talked about Harold. I explained about Harold. And most people weren't really aware of Harold at the time. This was several years ago. And the next morning I woke up with 3 scratches, deep scratches on my leg. Like I said, just the one guy who said, "I'll see you at Salem Con." And I was starting to write to him, telling him the last time somebody offered to exorcise the doll, I ended up with 3 broken ribs. And I heard this very sarcastic laughter. Then somebody else messaged me through YouTube. I have a YouTube channel about the doll. And he said, I want to challenge the doll. I think it'd be fun to see what happens. And so I was going back and forth with him a little bit, and I finally realized that this guy really was serious about it. And it stressed me out just a bit. And the St. Benedict's crucifix I just mentioned was sitting on a shelf next to a few other things. And next thing I knew, it came flying at me. Nothing else was disturbed, just the crucifix came flying at me. And I thought, well, I don't know if that means that I'm supposed to wear it or it's just a warning. But, so if that kind of reaction happens when other people say things, you can imagine what happens when I say things. But like I said, I keep a bottle of holy water handy, and it seems to work.
Gail in Paranormal Into the Night has a question for you. Why would you, Anthony, want to keep such a thing? Why don't you destroy it and be done with it and its companions?
You know what? In all honesty, if it were simply haunted, I don't know that I would sell it. I'd probably just give it away. But again, because there are apparently 3 souls imprisoned in the doll, and I have it's a bit of a story. There's a gentleman named Larry who lives in the Baltimore, Maryland area who contacted me after he saw the doll on Ghost Adventures, and he's an insomniac. And one night he was trying to fall asleep. He closed his eyes and saw a woman standing in front of him looking terrified. He opened his eyes. She was gone. He closed them again, and she was there. But this time there was a little boy, little girl next to him. He thought it was a little boy next to the woman. And then this man with a scorched face, a burned face, appeared and sneered at him. And then a huge muscular arm, he said, with a claw-like hand, took the child and the woman and swept them back behind them. And anyway, he sent me a sketch, and then he had a sketch artist, a professional artist, make a sketch of what he saw. My point is, I not only found out who these 3 people are, I found out where they lived here in not only the United States, but in the UK as well. So I know this is a reality as far as these souls go, because I have portraits of them, or I have pictures of their portraits. I know their history. And that's why, because there are 3 souls that are imprisoned within the doll. And I feel, because of Vincent, that it's my I don't know if responsibility, because I still have free will, and it's not an obligation, but it's a desire on my part to do what I can to free the 3 souls. And that's it. So once that happens, I'm getting rid of the doll.
I'm getting a lot of questions from our chat rooms that are following us asking, how are these spirits imprisoned?
That is, I wish I knew. What I've been able to find out is that Harold, who, again, it's not his real name. I'll give his first name, his real first name. His real first name is William. I know who William is. As I said, Larry, he appeared in front of Larry with a burned face. Larry said he looked like he'd been in a fire. William died in a fire. I have pictures of his home after the fire. I have the pictures of his home now. I know that he's related to the woman and the child in the doll. So my point is that I believe, I haven't been able to prove this, that William was apparently into something bad, like satanic worship. And my understanding is that this could have happened if either they willingly gave themselves up to be imprisoned by Abaddon, whom I found out other psychics claimed that before I knew it was Abaddon, it was a soul collector, and then I found out recently Abaddon is supposedly a soul collector. So it was either they gave themselves up willingly or William offered them as a sacrifice. And that's how they end up imprisoned in the doll, and somehow Abaddon gets power or some kind of energy from that.
When you look at the doll and you see it on a daily basis, it is stationary. It is not moving. You're the one who moves it. Have you ever seen the doll move? Like get up, and you know what, for lack of a better example, I'm going to say almost like Chucky from the horror movies. Have you ever seen
or
the doll
Annabelle,
walk
supposedly.
Exactly.
No. In fact, Kathy, who owned the doll previous to me, I actually got it from her on eBay, put it perfectly. She said, Harold doesn't move. He just sits around and hurts people. Again, the doll isn't spirited as such. If it did move, I guarantee you I'd have a video camera on it 24/7. But it's never moved. Its eyes have changed color. Its eyes are like a light blue, and I've seen them become charcoal black and red. In fact, I have a couple of videos where I was doing a vlog, and you literally see the doll's eyes turn red as I'm talking about it. And freaked me out. You can actually hear my reaction on the first time it ever happened. I said, is this my imagination, or are the doll's eyes really red? And, just other things have happened around the doll. I had a St. Michael statue, and when the 2 priests were coming out to do basically a deliverance ritual with Vincent and his family in Australia, I had a St. Michael statue which weighed probably a good 3-4 pounds. And I had it about 1.5 feet, 15 inches. I don't know how many meters that would be, centimeters or whatever. But it was quite a distance away. It literally, and I didn't see it. I was actually filming a vlog again when this happened. It ended up wedged between my bed and the nightstand at the hotel I was staying in. And it occurred to me there was only one way it could have happened. That's if it were picked up, turned upside down, and shoved in between there with enough force that it broke one of the wings off this doll. And again, I have a video of that. You see, I'm talking, and you see there's nothing there because I wasn't expecting anything to happen. And then a moment later, you hear a sound, and you see me look over. And now, in my mind, I was saying, holy crap, cleaning it up. But I didn't say anything. And that's when I became convinced for the first time that I was dealing with a demon.
We are talking with Anthony Quinata tonight. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Anthony.
I was just going to say, I outline all of this in my book, Harold the Haunted Doll. Just my experiences and how I came to, realize all of this. So
we are talking with Anthony Quinata tonight on Spaced Out Radio. His website, anthonyquinata.com. You can find his book, his works, and he is an incredible author plus psychic medium as well. Really appreciate him getting on the air. I do want to focus as we shift to the topic that we actually brought you on for tonight, which is communication with the dead. I'm sorry about that, but Harold is very interesting, and with a bunch of new listeners that we've had, I know Harold always has a story, and thank goodness, knock on wood, and rub a rabbit's foot, he doesn't make another appearance here tonight. I'm on edge about it, to be honest. But you're a very talented psychic medium. When did you start the need to feel that you needed to write about communication with the other side?
It was, I had always wanted to write a book, but not necessarily about that. I just wanted to write a book just so that I have something to leave behind after I crossed over the Great Divide, so to speak. But in 2009, I was at a little picnic on Labor Day, and a woman sat down at the table next to me. We were the only two sitting there. We were chatting. She said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a psychic medium." And she just looked at me blankly, and I said, "You know what that is?" And she said, "Yeah." "Are you famous?" And I said, "Well, I'm internationally acclaimed. Does that count?" And she shrugged her shoulders, got up, and left. And that night, it bugged me because I had flown under the radar for years. I ordered like 2,000 business cards, and I still have 1,800 of them, if not 1,900 of them. I'd flown under the radar. Most of the people who came to me were coming to me by word of mouth. But I kept thinking, why aren't I more well-known? And I thought if I decided to do that, I'd write a book. And so that was in September. Fast forward to March of 2010, I was hired by a woman to do a medium session for her and her family, but she made a strange request. She asked me that I come to her house to do it, which I was really hesitant to do. But I showed up, and I met everybody there. There was probably 10, 12 people, and I said, "I'm being asked to come downstairs. There's a bedroom downstairs." Yes, and they all looked at each other, kind of panicked. And I just led the way. I went downstairs, and I said, "Somebody used to sleep in this bedroom." And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "But that person doesn't sleep anymore. Doesn't sleep here anymore." "No." And I said, "Now I'm being called over to this closet." I went over to the closet, and I stood in there, and I said, "But I'm supposed to talk about the closet up above this." And by that time, they're all in tears, and I said, "Oh, my God. Whoever slept here hung herself in a closet upstairs, and she's showing me a Christmas tree, so I want to say it was on Christmas Day." And it turned out a young woman named Jasmine killed herself on Christmas Day 2009. So, I left, and I thought, I didn't think anything of it. To me, it was just another session, and I tried to give them some comfort, some hope. And I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks later, I was sound asleep, and I woke up, and I remember thinking, what the hell? Who's in my room with me? And I looked over. My girlfriend at the time, Cheryl, was sound asleep, so I knew it wasn't her. And then I looked over to my right, and I said, "Oh, hi, Jasmine." And she said, "You have to write a book." And I said, "Jasmine, it's 3:30 in the morning, honey. Can this wait till I wake up around 6 or 7? She said, "No, you have to start writing now." And I said, "I promise I'll start writing it when I get up, in the morning." She said, "No, you've been talking about writing a book for years." And she said, "You need to write a book for everyone, for my mother and everyone who's grieving." And I said, "Jasmine, what would I write about, honey?" And she showed me Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book of essays on death and dying, and I thought, I could do that. I got out of bed, and by 7 o'clock, it was half written. for the next 2 weeks, every time I go for a walk, she'd show up and she'd say, that chapter was good. Now write a chapter on this, and, you put this chapter here. Well, 2 weeks later, I was done with the book. And I said, Jasmine, now that you've helped me write the book, you need to help me find a publisher. I submitted it to 5 publishers. One I knew wasn't going to accept a manuscript because they said out front, we're not accepting manuscripts, but they were local. 2 rejected it, and 2 accepted it. One was Fourth Dimension Press. The other one was Llewellyn Worldwide. And Fourth Dimension Press is an imprint of ARE, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, which is Edgar Cayce's foundation. And I decided to go with them. So that's how I came to write Communications from the Other Side. Death is not the end of life, love, or relationships. They bought the first manuscript I bought, but then my editor, Stephanie, said, Anthony, I think you could do better. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, this book will sell, but, what are your favorite books? I said, biographies and autobiographies. She laughed. She said, that's what you need to do. That's what you need to write. I said, what, an autobiography? She said, yeah. And I said, honestly, Stephanie, if it wasn't for this supposed gift, I'm really pretty boring. And she said, well, why would anybody listen to you unless they know your story? So I said, okay, I'll do that. She said, good. Well, you have until the end of next week to get it in. So I had to write,
nice.
what was it, 40,000 words in 10 days. But I got it done.
Wow. Of course you did. We are with Anthony Quinata tonight on Spaced Out Radio, his website, anthonyquinata.com. We're going to jump out for our break at the top of the hour. We'll come back with your questions because, Anthony, there's a few more questions about Harold that our audience wants to know about. So
you bet.
We'll get you to hold on, Anthony. I will be back as well. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Talk to you in a couple minutes.
The Phoenix Lights, Roswell, secret military aircraft, flying saucers. Let's check out the sky together. Hi, this is Rich Giordano, host of the AZ UFO Show right here on the Spaced Out Radio Network. Every Sunday night at 7, we hit the airwaves to talk about the phenomenon of unidentified flying objects and more. We want to hear your stories. Maybe you've seen what many others have seen. Only one way to find out, the AZ UFO Show on Sunday nights on the Spaced Out Radio Network on spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is James Tyson, host of Spaced Out Weekends, and I know you're enjoying tonight's show with Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio. I just wanted to remind you that Spaced Out Radio continues on the weekends with me. On Spaced Out Weekend, we hit the airwaves at www.spacedoutradio.com starting at 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern. We have great guests with interesting chats regarding all things paranormal, supernatural, cryptozoological, and much, much more. So tune in to Spaced Out Weekend and give us a listen.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Need a break but don't have the time? Tired of life's running around? Hi, this is Jolene from Relaxation and Readings. Let me help you in your time of need. From Reiki to realm readings, I can help provide you therapy for your mind, body, and soul. Check out my website at rivuletrnr.wix.com/rivuletrnr. And if you're a listener of Spaced Out Radio, receive 10% off your first session. Rivulet Relaxation and Readings. And don't forget to give my Facebook page a like. It's time for you to make some important time for you.
The Spaced Out Radio Network can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Here you can join the latest on our weekly shows and news from around the world involving UFOs, cover-ups, cryptids, ghosts, and more. Read articles from our very talented staff and check out our weekly tarot card reading from Psychic Catherine. You can also sign up for free on our forum and tell us about your experiences. SpacedOutRadio.com. Always live, always interactive.
The Webster Phenomena airs on Spaced Out Radio on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. I'm your host, Patrick Webster Small, and I discovered extraterrestrials in the atmosphere, which led me to more discoveries, developing the Webster phenomena, which is the occurrence of extraterrestrials throughout nature. I will explain the Webster phenomena and all my recent discoveries every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Want to call in to Spaced Out Radio? You can. 1-607-203-5344. You can tweet us at Spaced Out Radio or send us a message on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio. And now, back to the show. Here's Dave Scott.
1 hour down, 1 hour to go on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you with us. If you're in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, which is very active, Paranormal Into the Night. Paranormal Into the Night, I apologize about my questions or not getting to your questions. The reason why is Facebook is acting up for me. I am literally having to refresh it every time and then try and catch up here. So please bear with me if you don't mind. And all of you in Paranormal Forum, thank you so much for tuning in. Monday, the 21st, or Monday, the 28th of this month, we are done with Blog Talk Radio. We are going to be moving over to Spreaker. It is now 100%. We just got to get the audio finished because we have new audio from Ron Bumblefoot Thal, Guitar God Extraordinaire. If you want to check him out, go to spacedoutradio.com. And we will be ready, and we hope you are too. Help us get to 1,000 followers. That's what we want. We're 600 in. We need just under 400 more. We want 1,000. We'll be right with you here momentarily, just having a little bit of a telephone difficulty. Boy, everything's happening now. This is what Harold does. This is what how Harold acts up. Harold is the kind of doll that will knock you off the air. That is what Harold does. So, I just got knocked off by my phone line, which I have a great connection. This is what Harold the Haunted Doll does. I'm going to bring Anthony in here right now. Anthony, I don't know if you heard the dead air or not.
I did. I was thinking it was my phone.
No, it was mine. And you know what? I was at full bars, and I got knocked off the air.
And you're right. It happened because, we brought up Harold.
Well,
he does not like the attention.
No, I understand that. And one thing that I want to say is when we were talking during the break and I was walking back into my studio, I actually got goosebumps that Harold was here. And
not surprised.
All of a sudden, my phone line goes dead for no reason. And
that's
you know what,
my friend?
Yes. You know what? It didn't surprise me. I was wondering what would happen tonight, and I'm curious, in a non-violent way, if Harold will do it again. And if he does, well, either you or me are going to have to call right back into the show. But we will see.
Hang on, I'll go grab my holy water. I was interviewed by a gentleman. I was just going to say I was interviewed by a gentleman in the UK, and he brought up Harold before we went on the air. And all of a sudden, we were on Skype, and everything went wacky. And he said, well, we won't be bringing him up again. He said, probably a good idea.
Well, I'm very interested in what is going to happen now because it's always interesting when we chat with you. Bill Hauser, who is in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, he is also an expert on using the ghost box, and we've done 2 live ghost box sessions with him. He has a question for you.
You bet.
He says the demon in Harold, the doll, do you know the history of the demon and the origins that could explain more of the situation in the connection with the doll? So how did the demon get in there?
The demon isn't in the doll. It's separate from the doll. There are 4 souls that I know of in the doll, but the demon is actually separate from the doll. Again, his name is Abaddon, Abbadon. And if you look up Revelations chapter 9, you will see talk about Abaddon, and it's actually mentioned throughout Jewish and Christian scriptures. How it came to into, pardon the pun, pardon the word, possession of the doll, I really don't know. I'm still trying to understand that, still trying to figure it out. But Abaddon owns the doll the way, most people own dolls. They're totally separate from the doll. There are, again, 4 spirits that I know of, 4 souls that I know of in the doll, but Abaddon is not one of them.
Why does he love this doll so much? Why is he controlling this doll?
I believe it's a vessel. It's an instrument of some sort. It's a knockoff. It's a composition doll that's a knockoff of another popular doll. And I believe it was simply offered by William, who calls himself Harold. And there's a couple of reasons why he might be calling himself Harold, but I haven't been able to confirm them yet. For one thing, William's second wife, actually, the woman William married, and he was her second husband, pardon me. She had a son named Harold. So that could be where the name came from. And it actually, the guy who originally sold it, Greg, on eBay, he and his brother came up with Harold out of thin air. But, again, there are connections to the whole family with a Harold, and then there's another possibility. But I believe that William offered the doll as a vessel to imprison the souls.
So this poor doll,
he's imprisoned himself as well. No.
So this poor doll has never had a good life.
Apparently not. Not that. I mean, he actually looks worse now than he did, say, a year and a half ago, because I kept sprinkling him with holy water, and water is death to a composition doll. So he shows the signs of the battle, so to speak. But it was the only way I could contain the energy that was going on, everything that was going on.
Bill has a question in Paranormal Into the Night. Do you think the doll could one day take over control of your mind and actions?
It's already tried several times. And I have developed an extremely strong spiritual and prayer life, but it's already tried many, many times. In fact, Vincent sent me a drawing with the number 5 on it, and it was right about the time I left Denver to come out here to the East Coast. And when I was going to write the sequel to the first book, Harold the Haunted Doll, I was going to write the sequel, so first thing I did was I opened it up to Revelations 9, and it talked about a 5-month period where these scorpion-like things were allowed to torment people, making them wish they were dead, but not actually killing them. And I can tell you that for a 5-month period, that's exactly what happened to me. It was during that 5-month period, for instance, I broke 3 ribs after somebody tried to exorcise the doll. I'm the one who paid the price. And at one point, I thought, because I didn't know my ribs were broken, I thought that I was having a heart attack. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I'm having a heart attack. And I heard a voice say to me very clearly, death would be much better for you than what I had planned for you.
Let's talk about something a little bit more positive now. Your book, We Are Never Alone, Reassuring Insights from the Other Side.
You bet.
When you started writing this book and you started finding the messages that were coming to you as well as to others regarding it, what made you all of a sudden decide that this needed to be printed, this message needed to be out there?
It was, I don't know how to describe it. For instance, I'm writing a book about suicide now. My publisher, ARE, just expressed an interest in getting a proposal about it. And I'm going to explain it kind of through that. I contacted Jenny Taylor Martin at Fourth Dimension Press. I said, I have a couple of ideas for books. And she said, well, we're not really accepting any proposals because we're limiting the amount of books we're publishing this year. But since you're already an established author, we'll be happy to talk to you. And this is through email. And as soon as she responded, literally, I think it was about 3 or 4 people within 3 or 4 days started talking to me about suicide. They had questions about suicide, and the topic of suicide kept coming up. And it occurred to me that no medium that I'm aware of has ever dealt with the subject of suicide exclusively. Like myself, they've, devoted a chapter. And so I started to do some research, and this one woman asked me to write something for a suicide group on Facebook, and got a really good response. And she said something that stunned me. She said, worldwide, somebody commits suicide every 40 seconds. And I thought, my God, with that sort of thing happening, there's a real need for this. Same thing with We Are Never Alone. The questions that were coming up from people was about when somebody dies, do they forget us? One man wrote to me and said, I can tell you this, if there's a heaven and there's a God, I'm not looking back. My relatives can fend for themselves. And in all the messages I've been delivering during sessions, the exact opposite was true. One of the things they wanted their loved ones to know is that they're never alone. Even though we might be separated because we no longer see the person physically, the person is constantly with us and guiding us. And it just eventually dawned on me that that's what they wanted me to write about, because it just kept coming up over and over and over and over again. The message of, you're not alone, we're here with you, we still love you. I love how one person said, he said, I didn't die, I just changed addresses, but, make no mistake about it, I'm closer to you now than I've ever been when I was on the physical plane.
When people commit suicide, we often hear of stories that they are trapped here, they haven't found the light, they are a lost soul in the dark. What truly happens to people who commit suicide in your communication with them?
Well, the people I communicate with, I can't communicate with them unless they've actually crossed over and done their life review. So I've never actually heard from anybody who's ever claimed they were lost, wandering in darkness, condemned to hell. In fact, I've reassured people hundreds of times that hell doesn't exist for their loved ones who've committed suicide. What they tell me is that they are welcome with open arms, they are loved, but it's not like, let's say, somebody who completes their life task and dies heart attack or dies in their sleep or dies from cancer, where they're immediately greeted by their loved ones on the other side to let them know that they've actually passed away. The biggest surprise that the souls have ever expressed during sessions with me, they say that, the biggest shock was that they'd actually died. They didn't realize that they had passed away until they seen all these relatives that they knew had passed away. And then the relatives bring them to a Christ figure who might appear as Buddha, might appear as Jesus, whomever, they relate to. And then that person takes them through their life review. When somebody commits suicide, it's the same thing. They're surprised that they're still alive, but they're brought to a place where they find themselves in a place where they're all alone. And it's typically, they describe it as like an open field or a pasture of some sort, or maybe it's a forest if they were really into trees when they were alive. And their only company are small animals with unconditional love, where they're allowed to heal and get over their mental anguish, which caused them to do what they did. They often said, it's not that I wanted to die, it's just that, being alive hurt so much. One soul stunned me when she had me tell her loved ones, when you don't like yourself, your soul withers. And to me, that was the perfect explanation as to why somebody would do that. Their soul simply withered. And so their soul's allowed to recuperate, and then in time, other souls, show up and kind of tend to their needs, and then they're introduced to loved ones who welcome them again with open arms without shaming them or blaming them or condemning them. And then they are brought to, again, Christ, who, runs them through their life review, not to judge them, but to be there and support them. And they've all said that it's interesting. One, in their life review, they say that they realized they had options that they didn't realize they had when they were alive. And the biggest thing that's always shocked me is that none of them have ever expressed regret for what they did, but they never encouraged anyone they've left behind to do the same. So they say that whatever lessons they didn't learn here, they have to learn on the other side, and it's much more difficult there.
Are souls that committed suicide able to find happiness and peace again and find that love
absolutely.
That the soul missed?
Absolutely, but it's kind of tricky because they find it because they're surrounded by love, they're surrounded by peace, they're surrounded by people who adore them. But in my book that I'm going to write, I'm going to talk about a woman. Her name is Debbie. And she had come to me for a medium session at one point, and then 3 years later, she called and made another appointment with me and reminded me she had seen me 3 years before, so I simply assumed she lost somebody else. But when she came to my home for her appointment, she didn't want to do a medium session. She wanted to know why she was still here because she tried to commit suicide 3 times. And all 3 failed despite her best efforts. And so I asked her, what moved her to do it, and she admitted she was in a marriage. It was her second marriage. And this man was horribly abusive to her, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and told her every day how unlovable she was, to the point where she believed it. She believed that the world would be better off if she were dead. That's why she tried to commit suicide 3 times. And I suggested to her, I said, what if you're here to learn lessons in love, to learn why you're lovable? If you would have successfully crossed yourself over, and now you're surrounded by the unconditional love of what the souls call the eternal light of love, as well as your loved ones who preceded you, and you're not sure as to why you're lovable. Can you imagine the kind of hell that would be for you? And she looked at me and she said, "Oh my God, so what you're saying is I need to find out why my husband's wrong and why I am lovable." And I said, "It seems to me that's your purpose for being here."
There is a very cruel joke to go along with that. If you have messed up on committing suicide, not been able to commit suicide on 3 tries, you're really not meant to die.
That's true.
Or you're just really, truly not good at anything. And I mean that in a humorous way, in a very sick humor way. I don't mean to begrudge or bejudge anybody, but there is, some people who just want to end it, and they just seem to not be able to be successful. So when you say the people who commit suicide can get happy or find that happiness on the other side again, how long does that take after the life review? Have you ever asked any spirits that?
It is very, 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 very difficult. One thing that I've learned, because I've heard it over and over and over again, the reason why we choose to come to this spiritual cesspool is because we know it's not going to be easy. We know people are going to get into our face. We know people are going to aggravate us. We know we're going to aggravate other people, but that's how we learn. All the difficulties we have here in life, I've been told that there's a reason for everything that happens. Everything that happens. There's a spiritual lesson to be learned from it. And our job is to ask, not why is this happening, but what spiritual lesson can I learn from it? On the other side, nobody's getting in your face. Everybody loves you and accepts you where you are, no matter what you've done. So that makes it more difficult because, for instance, Debbie being here, I suggested she either get therapy or coaching to find out what it is about her that's lovable. And as far as I know, she did it. So, but would that have happened on the other side? No. That might have been part of her soul growth to learn why she's so loved by the eternal light of love as well as all the other souls. And that's what she came here to learn, to grow in not only love for others, but self-love. And the way that was going to be facilitated was by marrying this guy who told her she wasn't unlovable. Her job was to fight back and understand why he was wrong.
Can those who commit suicide, Anthony, for those who commit suicide, are they able, like other spirits, to send messages to people on this side who have not crossed over and are still living?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just like everyone else. In fact, I had written something about the place where, again, suicides have shown me over and over again that they go. And what's interesting is, typically when somebody commits suicide, I'll know one of 2 ways or one of several ways. The most common way is I'll feel what they were feeling when they took their own life. And often enough, it was just huge depression. It's just heavy, heavy, heavy energy. The other way is that when they show up, the one that I recognize as Christ shows up with them. But they do show up to pass on messages. Keep in mind, Jazzy had taken her own life 4 months previous to when I came to do the session for her mother. She's the one who inspired me. The song, every Breath You Take, I'll Be Missing You, by P. Diddy, the rap song that he took from the Police. The first time I heard it, I was in Redondo Beach, California, and I thought, what a beautiful song, and what a great message of hope and comfort for those who are grieving. So I had to find it. I was looked it up on YouTube, found it, and just started dancing to it, my own goofy dance. And Jazzy showed up, laughing her head off, and was dancing with me. And then when the song ended, she took a bow and left. So, they're not in a place of torment. Are they sorry for what they did? Absolutely, because they see they had options. Are they sorry about the pain they caused? Absolutely. Are they withering in mental anguish? No. They're healing. They're healing on the other side. But again, I've never once heard them say, it's the way to do it. It's the way to deal with it. They've all cautioned their loved ones who are still here not to do the same.
We are talking with Anthony Quinata tonight on Spaced Out Radio. His website, anthonyquinata.com. You can learn more about his books, including his communication with those on the other side, and about Harold the Doll. We're going to hop out for our final break of the night. When we come back, we're going to learn more about communication with the other side with Anthony Quinata. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back after this final break.
Want to find out what's coming up on the Spaced Out Radio Network? Go to spacedoutradio.com, where you can find our daily list of shows and guests appearing throughout the week. Want to tell us your story? Be sure to sign up for the Spaced Out Forum for free. Maybe you have a psychic question. Drop in and say hi to Catherine in Cat's Corner. spacedoutradio.com, your 24-hour source for UFOs, ghosts, conspiracies, and more. Check it out today.
Are you one of many who's had a UFO or ET experience? Listen up. The AZ UFO show is on every Sunday night at 7 on the Spaced Out Radio Network. We talk about UFO sightings across the globe, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, and more with me, Rich Giordano. I want you to know what's going on in the skies above you, so tune in to the AZ UFO show on Spaced Out Radio Network, on spacedoutradio.com, right before Spaced Out Weekend. Our show is literally out of this world.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Brand new discovery beats NASA. This is Patrick Webster Small bringing you the Webster Phenomena every Monday night at 8 p.m. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about amazing stuff, have amazing guests. That's all there is, man. You know the rest. Says ET's up in the sky. I'm going to tell you which way and why. And we're going to have a little combo about these ETs in the sky. We're going to chill. This is Patrick Webster Small, and I'll be seeing you every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Write it down on Spaced Out Radio.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me, from Rivulet Reiki and Ratings, lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Hi there, this is Jim Tyson, host of Spaced Out Weekend. When you've had a busy week and you're just wanting to chill out and relax, how about listening into my show? That's right, Spaced Out Weekend. I focus on the paranormal, the arcane. I even dip into the techie side of things and much, much more. And I would love for you to come in and check it out. Remember, Spaced Out Radio goes 7 days a week. Dave Scott, Monday through Friday, and me, Jim Tyson, rolling through the weekends. I look forward to having you stop by for a listen every Saturday and Sunday night, 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website where you can download the podcast at spacedoutradio.com. Now, back to tonight's show. Here's Dave Scott.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us in the Spaced Out Radio chat room at Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. We really do appreciate your love and support. This is one of our final shows that is going to be on Talk Radio. We are going to be moving over to Spreaker either on Monday the 21st, which is just after this coming weekend, or Monday the 28th. We've got the technical issues worked out. All we need to do is get our audio set up. Once that is set up, we are going to be good to go on Spaced Out Radio on Spreaker for our next adventure. We're looking for 1,000 follows. We've got over 600, and we haven't even broadcast a show on there yet. We need you to follow us. Go to Spreaker.com, type in Spaced Out Radio, and give us a follow. We would really appreciate that. Hey, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can find us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. Subscribe to that. That's where our archives will be. And, of course, our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. For the final time tonight, we bring in Anthony Quinata. He is an author extraordinaire as well as a psychic medium. His website, anthonyquinata.com. Anthony, this show is flying by here as it usually does, but thank you so much for being with us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been just a real pleasure. I can't believe how quickly this has gone by.
I want to start off with a question coming from Paranormal Into the Night. This is from Gail.
Okay.
Anthony, she says, has it ever occurred to you how attractive you make it sound when people commit suicide to those who are contemplating it?
You know, it's a very thin line. And I'm not trying to make it attractive. I'm always trying to discourage people from doing it. What I'm also trying to do is just bring it out into the open. Because it's such a taboo subject, but I can't tell you how many people I've talked off the ledge just by talking about it and telling them exactly what I just told you, what the souls have to say about it. Because it's kind of like, I was recently talking to somebody, she said, well, isn't it part of the life plan? If somebody commits suicide, isn't it part of their life plan that they devised before they came here? And I said, that makes as much sense as a kindergartner telling his mom or her mom, Mom, I'm going to drop out in the 12th grade, just letting you know. You know, it's like there's nothing to be gained from committing suicide. You have everything to lose. But I also don't want people thinking that their loved ones are, you know, wandering around in darkness or roasting in hell or in complete misery. So, again, it's a very thin line. I'm not trying to make it attractive, but I am trying to give the souls a human voice and express what they've expressed to me.
I think that's a good run because you're not promoting it, but there is a side that it needs to be spoken about. And as someone who has a mental illness like I do, I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I get a lot of people out there who will say, why do you talk about it so much? You know, because it's one of those topics that is supposed to be kept in the dark. We're not supposed to talk about this stuff. But when you open up the subject, it actually is healing. And that's why I talk about my depression and anxiety so much on this show, is because I want people out there to know that if they suffer from it, you are allowed to talk about it. Would you consider suicide to be the same way for people who are contemplating it, to talk about it, because it is a healing factor if you talk about it in a positive way?
It is. I can't tell you how many times my phone is set to ding every time I get a message on Facebook. And I cannot tell you how many times, you know, people have said, well, you're profiting from the grieving. Really? It's like, am I profiting when I wake up at 2 a.m. and somebody tells me that they lost their child and now they want to join their child, and I give them my phone number and we spend 4 or 5 hours talking about why they shouldn't do it, why their child wouldn't want them to do it? And, you know, they send me Christmas cards and such, which is awesome. Talking about it is healing. It is healing, but it's such a taboo subject in our culture that, I mean, I had a friend who we were talking about her high school sweetheart who committed suicide. It never occurred to her that anybody else had committed suicide either. She literally thought she was alone. She felt so ashamed that she knew somebody who committed suicide. So, you know, as I mentioned before, worldwide, somebody does it every 40 seconds. So if you think about it, how many people have taken their own life in the time we've been talking on this show? It's incredible. We need to talk about it. You know, there's no shame in your depression and anxiety, but people shame people with depression and anxiety, making you think you're weak. Same thing with people who are contemplating suicide. It's a cancer to the soul, is the way, you know, souls have described it. It's a disease that's like a cancerous to the body. You know, depression is to the soul. And so that's why I am talking about it, not to make it attractive, but just to get people talking so people who are thinking about it can reach out to other people without shame.
When spirits communicate on this side, most of us are numb to the signs that are left for us. What is your message to people on this side on what they can look for in regards to signs that spirit may be leaving for them?
What I always tell people is, one, nobody comes to me for a session, for an appointment, unless somebody on the other side that loves them is you know, brings them to me. And they only do it as a last resort because they've been trying to talk to that person, trying to communicate with them for God knows how long. One of the ways they do it is through dreams, so pay attention to your dreams. If you dream about somebody who passed away, doesn't necessarily mean it's them. No, the deciding factor, every time somebody tells me about it, I always ask them, how vivid was it? If they tell me it was so vivid, they didn't realize they were dreaming until they woke up, I always tell them it's a visitation. Sometimes you'll hear a little voice in your head telling you to do something, suggesting they can't tell you what to do, they can't guide you. My father, who passed away several years ago, I was just talking to a friend of mine about this tonight. I'm from Guam, they're from Guam. We're very Roman Catholic. When somebody passes away, we say a 9-day novena for them, and we bury them on the 9th day. Once they're buried, we never talk about them again. Now you've got this guy who talks to them, who, you know, hears from them, and it's freaking out everybody on the island. And amongst them, my mother and father. who didn't believe any of this at all. Well, after my father passed away, I was walking my dog, and this is in Denver, mind you. And we're walking on the sidewalk, and my dog, Prince Tahoe, stopped and sniffed at the ground, and he kept walking, but he sniffed at the ground for an unusually long time, so I wondered what he was sniffing. I looked down, and I thought, oh, no way, and I reached down, and there was a starfish in the grass. I picked it up. It was still dripping. I smelled it. It was ocean water, and that starfish was still alive in the middle of Denver. I knew it was my father telling me how proud he was of me and telling me to keep following my dreams and doing what I was doing. Before that, my father had been gone a couple of weeks. I was talking to my girlfriend. I was actually leaving my office where I was doing readings, and she said, I'm just calling to see how you're doing. I said, you read about my father? She said, yeah. And I said, no, I'm doing fine. I said, oh, my God. And she said, what? I said, he just came to me and told me he finally gets me. He finally understands that he's proud of me. It was just a feeling I got along with a voice I heard. Music. They'll use music to communicate with you. My mother does it all the time with a song by Pink, Perfect. If I'm going to do a talk or something like that, invariably I'll hear that song playing somewhere. And it's just her telling me how proud she is of me. How do you know it's a sign? How do you know it's your loved one? Because it makes you think of your loved one. When something happens, a butterfly flies by you, and you immediately think of your loved one who passed, that's a sign from your loved one. That's how you know. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just a little more in tune, that's all.
We're talking with Anthony Quinata tonight on Spaced Out Radio, AnthonyQuinata.com. If you want to check out his work, his psychic abilities, his books that he has, which can also be found on Amazon.com. Anthony, there's a lot of questions regarding the whole suicide idea that almost like you're romanticizing it. A lot of people who are struggling and contemplating only need that one reason to do it. You're not sitting here promoting that somebody goes and offs themselves because it's going to be so much easier on the other side, because there is work to do on that side. But what you are doing is opening up the problem, that there is a problem, that there is a case, right. As I mentioned, my depression and anxiety. You know, so I do want to get it out there. You're not romanticizing this.
Not at all. In fact, it doesn't make anything easier. It makes things much more difficult. People are having problems because we've been indoctrinated and inculcated with the idea that people who commit suicide are suffering on the other side. They're wandering around in the dark. They're in purgatory. They'll never see their loved ones again, and it's just not true. That's my point. It's just not true. But at the same time, the souls that have done it have adamantly said it's not the way to go. I've never, for instance, to make it more practical, I've never met anybody who dropped out of high school or a college or even junior high, whatever, say, you know what? I don't regret what I did, and I suggest you drop out of high school too. It's the way to go. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? I've never heard that happen because people who dropped out of high school know how much more difficult it is to get a job, especially these days. But does that mean, we go around denying people drop out of high school? No, not at all.
I appreciate you clarifying that up. I really do. When spirit on the other side tries to communicate with us to let us know they made it, they're okay, they're with previous family members who have passed on, so on and so forth, are we just too naive or too numb to the fact that we are not hearing or seeing that communication? And if so, what can we on this side do better in order to receive that communication? Because I'm a firm believer. And I'm a firm believer that we all have that ability to connect with the other side. However, due to society, due to religion, due to school, and what we hear from other people, we forget about that connection.
You're absolutely right. And please keep in mind, I never wanted to be a medium. I didn't choose to do this work. Now it seems to be everybody and their mother is a medium, but I never chose to do this work. But now that I'm doing this work, the work chose me. Whenever I'm asked that excellent question you just asked, my answer is always the same. Pray and meditate. Pray and meditate. Prayer to connect with, God and the souls, and meditate so you develop your listening skills.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a little more receptive.
Right.
But there isn't, they're constantly trying to let us know that they're alive, that they're well, that death is not the end of life, love, or relationships, which is the message of my first book, and that we are never alone, which is the message of my second book.
Should, whether it's parents or friends or family, have someone pass away, should we look for things in our house? And I'm trying to break this down into a very simple way. Should we look for things in our house that have been moved, that were maybe special to a loved one? Should we look for butterflies, if you ask for a butterfly, or birds, or something along those lines? Is that what we should put out there? Like, send a message, hey, if you're with me, could you make a certain type of bird fly by? Or can you move my car keys on the counter from one side to the other? Is that possible, or is that being a little bit too romantic about it?
I think it's being a little too romantic about it. I'll tell you what I've heard the souls say. The way to receive signs is not to look for them. Better still not to ask for them, just to be open to them. Why would they say that? Because there's a danger of people becoming too dependent on signs, if that makes any sense. When I first started doing this work, which I didn't believe was possible to begin with, nobody was more skeptical than me, and I'm only a little less skeptical than I was back then. A woman came to me and wanted to know, she literally lost four children for one reason or another. And she said, I felt them with me, I got signs from them, and now nothing, and I want to know why. And they told her, it's time for you to start living your own life again. She was living her life for the signs, to the point where it was hard for her to even get out of bed unless she got a sign from her kids.
How much does prayer work?
Well, prayer, it's constantly heard. Anytime you talk to them, they hear you. People are constantly telling me during sessions, please tell so-and-so I love them. Please tell so-and-so I love them. And my response is always the same. You just did. They hear you. When you talk to them, they hear you. Not only that, they're also praying for you. So if you say, I love you, they hear it. I've had people... Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was
going to say... Go ahead.
I was going to say, we have a lot of people on this side, though, when, say, a family member passes on, no matter what the way, whether it's disease, old age, cancer, suicide, we have a guilt factor on this side. How does the other side then react to the guilt that people on this side are feeling?
Yeah. What they want you to do is, if I could sum it up in a sentence, no matter how the person died, it would be, we're still alive, we're happy, we want you to live, we want you to be happy, knowing that one day we'll be back together again, knowing one day we'll be reunited, and it'll seem like a blink of an eye since the last time we saw each other. In fact, I present a workshop based on the life review, where I take what I've learned from the souls, because that's one thing they're constantly harping on, that what they learned from the life review, that's why they want to communicate with us, because they now have all the answers that we're all wondering about. And that's why they constantly want to communicate with us. People are always saying to me, why the heck would they want to? And my answer is always the same. They love you. That's why. They love you. They don't want you to be unhappy. They don't want you to feel alone. So I do a workshop, and I do, talks, seminars, that sort of thing, on the life review and the lessons they've learned and what they want us to know and how to live our life in order, happier. So it's like, I'm happy. I want you to be happy. I don't want you to grieve.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that a lot of people are able to take solace in that once they are able to finally let go of the grieving?
A medium session, and I tell people this all the time, is not a cure for grief. It's simply a reassurance that your loved one is still alive and hasn't left. But grief is the price we pay for love. The more we love somebody, the more we'll grieve. And it's something that will stay with us until we finally see one another. The only cure for grief is when we finally, our time on earth has come. But it does help them move forward. It does help them put one foot in front of the other. Because
go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish your thought first. You were polite last time.
I was just going to say that kind of like my book with Harold, the thing that stuns everybody about my book with Harold is I'm not telling you a story and asking you to believe it. I provide evidence showing you and supporting what I'm saying. Same thing in a medium session. I'm not asking you to accept anything. I'm giving you things that I'm being told, because I can't give it to you unless I'm told, that there's no way that you're going to know. There's no way I could possibly know what I'm telling you. And people find comfort from that. People find absolute comfort from that. I've got story after story after story. Just one very real quick one. I was telling one man who was a true skeptic. He told his daughter who paid for the session, after I'm done, I'm going to tell you how he does this, because I'm telling you he's a scam artist. And I looked at him and I said, your wife wants you to know it's okay you broke your promise. And he looked at me and tears filled his eyes, and I said, you had her cremated, yes? And he said, yes. And I said, and she wanted you to scatter her ashes all over the certain place, yes? And he said, yes. But you kept some of it for yourself. And he said, I couldn't let her go completely. I hope she understands. I said, she understands. She knows. And he looked at me. He said, there's no way you could have known that, because only two other people knew that, my wife and me. And he got on the phone with his daughter and said, oh, my God, this guy's for real.
Don't you love that when that happens?
I do. I mean, that's the fulfilling part of my work. I tell people all the time, I work for the souls. You're paying for my time, but I'm working for the souls. I'm giving them a human voice. I'm simply the messenger.
We got time for about one final question here for you. Just so we all know we're clear on this, the soul does move on to the other side. But do the souls grieve for us that are remaining here?
No. You know why? Because they know what awaits us here. Like I said before, after the life review, they know why we're here. They want, I mean, it's almost an immediate thing. It's kind of like if you go to a restaurant and you really enjoy the food, or you see a movie, or you hear a great show, on Spaced Out Radio, and you want other people to know about it, so you share it. That's what they're about. They want you to know, again, death is not the end of life, love, or relationships. We go from this life to an even greater life. So is there grief? You know, are they feeling sorry that we're here? Are they feeling sorry that they left? No, they're just like giddy with anticipation. It's like, oh my God, wait till you get here. You're going to be blown away.
Awesome. Anthony,
I asked, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please, make your comment here.
I was just going to say, one woman asked me to ask her mother about God. Has she seen God? And the woman responded, I have, but for all the glitz and glamour, I can't possibly describe it to you.
It's like Disneyland. Can't wait.
Yep.
When it's time.
Exactly.
Anthony,
when it's time.
Give us a rundown of your books, where people can find them, and tell us a little bit about your website.
My first book, Communications from the Other Side, is basically the story of my journey from going from skeptic to a medium and the lessons I learned along the way. We Are Never Alone is to let people know again that we are never alone. My book about Harold the doll is simply what I discovered, thinking it was a haunted doll and discovering it was so much more. My website is anthonyquinata.com. And you can get my books on Amazon, on Nook. You can find them at Barnes & Noble, or you can go to the ARE, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, and order it from them. They're my publisher.
My friend, it's always a pleasure to have you on this show. I cannot wait to do it again, and we're going to do that once your next book comes out, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's just been a great time, just a blast. As always, I have such a great time talking to you.
Well, I love talking to you too, my friend, and we'll end it on a love-in because, you know, there are certain times when, you know, you just connect with someone, and we've definitely connected, and it just makes
Absolutely.
that time fly by. It's flown by once again. And I want to say thank you, especially I know you're going to go over to Spreaker and follow us like you said, and I know you're good for your word, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, brother, and I appreciate you, and blessings to you and your wife and to all the listeners.
My friend, thank you very much. We're going to call it the night. Greatly appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
Do you have a topic or guest you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Email us, dave@spacedoutradio.com. Send us a quick message on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio or a message on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio. Once again, here's Dave Scott.
I want to say thank you to Anthony Quinata tonight on Spaced Out Radio, giving us a lowdown on what's happening with Harold the Doll and communication on the other side. Hey, just so you know, if you want to join more conversation after the show, head to Facebook, Paranormal Into the Night. I'm going there right after this to chat with some of our listeners. If you want to join us there and you can ask me anything, let's do it. Let's have some fun. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can ask to join our Spaced Out Radio group as well. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, has a new look to it. I highly suggest you check it out. We're going to be adding more to it as we go along. And, hey, we're almost ready for Spreaker, leaving Blog Talk Radio. Maybe as early as Monday, this coming Monday the 21st, but by Monday the 28th, we will officially be off Blog Talk Radio and on Spreaker. That's where you can catch us. Give us a follow. It's very important. We want 1,000 follows. We got over 600. We want 1,000, and we need your help to do so. So spread the love, spread the word, especially to people who haven't been here in a while and are going to be wondering, where's Spaced Out Radio? I thought it was here. Move them over to Spreaker. Put it on your Facebook, on your social media. That's where we want. Help us get there. We can do it all together. We will talk to you in exactly 22 hours. I'm heading off the air. I'm going to chat at Paranormal Into the Night on Facebook. Join their group today. Good night.